Good evening and welcome to Lower Makefield Township Park and Recreation Board meeting for September of 2023. Welcome, everybody. Our first agenda item is call to order, and we did that. So roll call. So with us today is myself, Doug Kraus. On the line is Kim Rock. Hi, Kim. Here with me to my left is Rob Labar, and then to my right is Dave Malinowski. Absent currently is Mike Brody, Mike Blundy, and Dennis Wysocki. And then we also have our Parks and Rec Director, Monica Tierney, here. All right. Our next agenda item is approval of our June meeting minutes. Does anybody want to make a motion? I'll make it. All right, Rob Labar makes a motion with second by Dave Malinowski. Do we have any comments? If none, all the vote on approval of the meeting minutes from June. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, and those are approved. All right, moving right along. Ms. Bonnie Gannon, why don't you come on up? And is your PowerPoint going to be on the? You're going to share it? We're going to hear about pickleball.
Testing. Can you hear me? Okay. Right. Go, Bonnie. All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for your time today. Basically, I've been a resident for 27 years. And it's a great place to live. And I've been recently hired by the township, and it's a great place to work as well. On the next slide, I'm here to brief you about the status of Lower Makefield Township pickleball. You may recall back in 2014, I was here before the board requesting, that we create some multi-use courts for pickleball. At that time, we had 12 members. It was a private club. And over time, Lower Makefield Township has taken it over, but we were early adopters. Thanks to you for approving that, and I really do appreciate it. Today, if you look at the slide, we have 458 members. We have 11 courts, 4 of which are dedicated. We run 25 sessions a week, 2 hours each, and they're spread out among 3 locations, 9 at Revere, 14 at Cardinal, and 2 at Memorial Court. We have 3 levels. They're not ready for prime time or beginners, intermediate, and advanced. And if you take a look at Monica's 2022 report, as of June 30th, 2022, there were 261 members in the club. Today, we have 458. That's a 75% increase in a little over a year. And I haven't increased the sessions per week. So what's occurring is that many of our members are on wait lists just to join one of those 25 sessions. And what you see there is a conservative number, 25 to 50 members. That was taken the last week in August when many people are on vacation. If I take a look at yesterday's numbers, which is our prime season, now people are done vacation, we have about 80 to 90 people on the wait list, but I have a quick fix for that. So we move on to the next slide.
All sessions.
All sessions, yep. Correct, yeah. And all levels too, all levels. This slide really reflects the sessions by day. And if you look at the graph, our heaviest times are Mondays and Thursdays, because that's how we have the session schedules, but it could be on weekends too if we added more sessions. And if you were to total up each of the bars on a daily basis, we have over 63 participants every day playing pickleball using our facilities on an average basis. The next slide will show you that same data by level. As I said, we have 3 levels. But if you graph them, it's kind of like the bell curve. Early on the bell curve, we have not ready for prime time or beginners. The tail end of the bell curve, we have advanced. But in the middle, we have the largest pool of our members are intermediates. And if you do total up those wait lists, 35, 8, and 7, that comes to about 50. But again, it was a snapshot taken, people on vacation.
Can you just let everybody know, like in a session, how many people are able to sign up before they get on the wait list?
Correct. Yes, we different levels have different capabilities. For example, at Cardinal, there's 4 courts, so we can support 16. So I max out at 24. So if there's any more than 24 people signed up, then the balance goes on a wait list. So, you know, if you look at the stats from yesterday, there's probably 23 people waiting to get in on the Sunday session in immediates.
But I know on the advanced competitive, that's capped at 20.
20, yeah, and there's
So-
16 people.
Can you just, for our knowledge, when you say wait list, that's not people that are sitting on the side of the courts, that's people that just aren't physically able to come to the courts themselves because there's no room for them.
So, correct.
In meetup, there's, like you said, there's 20 or 24. So the first 24 that get in, and
I can't.
I said the first, so if she has 24 as a cap, right? So the first 24 that sign up, and then anybody else after that wants to sign up, go to the wait list. And then if someone drops out, then it's prioritized based on when you signed up.
So this was 50, you know, last week in August, and today we're running 80 to 90. But I do have a quick fix for that. So on the next slide, basically, you know, I do have a number of initiatives and some exciting plans that I'll share with you. But I wanted to share with you that all of the plans and objectives that I have, they're all aligned with the LMT Parks and Recreation. Just as a refresher, the vision is play for all. And our mission is health, environment, and community. And of course, pickleball supports all of them, primarily health and community. And in our goals, we're aligned with the Park and Rec goals in that we are creating active living through recreation, and we're improving our facilities. On the next slide, I'll show you, if you focus on the bottom level specific tasks. I mentioned that we have 458 members, but I want to increase that social recreation for all levels. So what we did during the summer, we offered beginner lessons. And as soon as we advertised them, they were completely full. We provided 4 sessions per week. So for a total of 32 participants over a 6-week period, we offered that at the Memorial Park. We successfully ran beginner lessons for 32 participants. In fact, they were so successful, we're running them again in the fall. And we advertised them over the weekend. 2 beginner sessions this fall are completely filled up. Our intermediate is almost full. And we offered a 4th one. We tried to serve the community for ages 12 and above. It wasn't as successful enrollments, so we converted that back to an adult beginner level. But right now, we're anticipating another 32 participants for beginner levels and 1 intermediate that all will flow eventually into the club as well. So we are not just supporting the 458 members, but we are increasing our social recreation by offering beginner lessons.
And those beginners are not currently part of the meetup membership, right?
That's correct. Now, what do you do with the 458 members? So one of the things I have is improving the user experience for those existing participants. And as I said, we had a number of wait lists for the intermediate level. Quick fix is not to request additional courts, but simply add more reserved times for our existing facilities. So if I was just to add 4 more sessions, I would reduce our wait list and our no-shows, thereby improving the user experience for those participants. Since we've been in existence 9 years, since 2014, we've always had 3 levels. We've always been self-rated. We've had beginners, intermediates, and advanced. Over that period of time, many members have increased their skill level immensely. So our advanced level is pretty advanced, but within that, we have a subset of highly skilled players. How do I improve their user experience? So one of my exciting plans that I'm going to do this year is to create a 4th level, not self-rated, 4th level that's going to leverage a universal rating system that's used by many pickleball communities. So in order to be in this 4th level, you'll be playing with people of your own skill level, but you'll also have a rating that is universal across the U.S., across pickleball communities. So if you play down in Key West, if you play in Colorado, if you play over at Mercer Bucks, your rating will stay the same. And it has an algorithm behind it. So whether you win or lose, your rating will be updated. So we're going to maintain our 3 self-rated levels, but we also want to offer a 4th level that's, you know, that has a self-rated, that has a universal rated system so that these people can play and have more fun with people of their own levels. And then the last thing that we want to do this year is improve our tools. Since day one, we've been using an app called Meetup, and it has its limitations, both in tech support and in back office operations. I've tried to help people but they have limited support capabilities. So what we want to do is migrate our app to a new registration system, ideally called Court Reserve, which is used by a local commercial venue. And basically, they have office hours for tech support, et cetera. It will improve the user experience for many of our members that are having problems with their meetup app. So again, offering beginner lessons, increase our social registration. For the existing members, I want to add some reserve court times. I'm going to create a 4th level for those highly skilled levels, and then I want to migrate to a new registration system. Those are my key goals in the coming months. And if you see on the next slide, the most exciting one, you know, on this bullet list, we'll add some sessions, we'll create this new duper level, I'll adjust the schedule for season times, and, you know, we're going to add some beginner lessons, and we'll get some new signs printed up. And on the next slide, you'll see that the most exciting plan I have is creating this new level. And I'm not going to do it in a vacuum. I'm not going to do it overnight. I'm going to take a couple of weeks to document the program, going to enlist the help of current members as well as the volunteer that heads up the advanced level today. And then we'll do a 6-week trial. We'll refine and tweak that process. And ideally, we'll roll it out at the beginning of next year's season. So in summary, and on the next slide, improving the user experience, you know, adding some reserve court times to manage the wait list, promoting pickleball through our beginner lessons. They're all aligned with LMT's vision and goals. Basically, I enjoy serving the community, and I really, truly value the opportunity of working for the Parks and Rec Department to be able to do. So that's my status for today. And by this time next year, we may have 550 members, and, you know, and we'll add some more reserve times. But with those courts are currently used by our members as well as members of the public play, and they're really used. Like, you know, if you ever drive by the Memorial Park, they're used almost 100% of the time. It's really popular these days, and I plan to improve that going forward. Some of those goals I just did.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Anybody, before you leave, does anybody have any questions for Bonnie? None? Kim, you have any questions online? No? All right, thank you. I know you and I talk, but we can talk offline about so many things, but appreciate the update.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Bonnie. Good job.
All right. Liaison reports. George, you're here. You want to go first?
George Schlieben, 1035 Harbor Drive, and president of YMS. Just a few quick notes. First, Bonnie, congratulations. Pretty awesome to like build a program like that from scratch. Really neat, really neat. You make me feel lazy, so congratulations. We had just chime in, we had a really smooth start to our season overall. We have about, I still can't believe it, like we're up to 980 in our rec program, which is up from 960 a year ago. So really great. A lot of kids getting out there playing soccer. There is a bit of an issue getting into Makefield Park during a couple of the changeover sessions. I think the problem point is between D and E and ENG. So between the soccer field and the football fields, that runway there or that street there. I don't know if there's something we could do. I'm happy to have volunteers do it. If we could drop some barricades, I think if we one-wayed that for about an hour and a half in the morning, we could get everybody in the park and circle them around the D and turf. And that's what we do for tournaments. And that would, I think, alleviate the pressure of people getting in, getting out. They're fine. It's really
No left turn when they come.
yeah, because so at the stop sign, the problem point's the left turn. Everybody's trying to park in front of that football field while they're also trying to go to the back. So if we can get them to go around, then at least you're getting the cars in the park and they get tired and then they'll park right away rather than having to get right up against the field. That's the way I would do it. So I don't know if there's anything we can do about that or consider.
Wasn't that one way
It was.
at one time?
It was like 4 or 5 years ago, and it
I
would.
think it was before because it was two-way once I started.
But before that,
It was one way.
I would highly recommend, like, it would solve a lot of the, I know there's a park study going on certainly, but it would, I think, solve a lot of those.
That might be a simple, fast solution.
Just to, yes, I mean, just in the short term to,
That's something that the chief has to, or who's responsible for.
I'll just have to take a look at what's the best process. I mean, I think it was designed to be one way initially, and I don't recall how the two-way and nor do we have to relive it, but we're back, we're back realizing that one way was the smart way. So maybe that's what we just do is one way all the time
I think it
instead of having to worry about.
There still would be bottlenecks, 'cause, sorry, back up and back in, because there's the spots people back in and.
yeah,
People are waiting, but that left turn into that section is,
right. At least they're in the park. At least you can get them in the park and it's not blocking the street, I think is the
Mhm.
key.
yeah, people were.
That might be
down
a,
River-
That's the
people
piece.
were backed up down River Road.
That's the piece. I think we can solve that pretty quick if there's something that can be done. Again, I'm happy with volunteers to stand out with barricades this weekend. For us, we have a 30-minute changeover, so like it's not, it's everybody at the park. We're kind of, but we have a pretty big gap between our little kids in the back and then the second little kids. Come noon, there's no one really in the park, so it's just a matter of how do you manage that hour and a half changeover.
if YMS would be willing to help with that until we could come up with a
Yeah,
solution, I would really appreciate that.
yeah, no problem. So
Mhm.
if you want to.
So Football's there at the same time, right? So.
Mhm.
So the 8 o'clock sessions are fine, right? For both, because we start at 8:30, the football starts at 8. Everybody gets in fine. It's that first changeover when football starts there. Or it's the 10 o'clock session and then we have our 10:15 kids coming in. That's when it,
Right, but
bottlenecks.
what my concern is you do things differently at different times and it gets people confused versus just making
But I think it should just be a permanent change.
one way, right? Because
yeah,
it becomes confusing. People are like, well, I came in last time and it was, I could go this way. Now I can't go this way. And so unless you put a sign like it says no right turn
Yeah.
during school hours, unless you say no left turn between,
Right.
Sunday between 8 and noon, but.
Right.
Oh.
that's why I'm willing to stand out there. Just when-
I'll have to look into what that will take to make that change permanent, but for now, temporarily, if you can assist,
Mhm.
and then we'll move through that process to make it permanent.
Sure. You want to give me a call this week? We'll figure it out.
Mm.
We also have a couple community service projects for our kids coming up. Not LMT, but to our neighbors in Yardley, will be volunteering. Our kids will be volunteering to help with the lake rafting cleanup. We had a really good turnout for that last year of about 25 kids. We think we can double that this year, so we're excited for that. And we are ready and willing to help out with the run the course as well. I think Maureen is in touch with people to do that, so we're psyched to get involved with that as well. So, any questions?
Columbus Cup this year, fall.
No, we canceled Columbus
Okay,
Cup
Stop
2 years ago. Yeah,
a permanent. stop.
that is a permanent stoppage. Yeah, a lot of work for not the return, so it was kind of time. So. Other questions?
No.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
I did share with you an email today that you guys could take a glance at about maybe a potential additional user group.
Thank you.
I'm sure they've been playing there before.
I just wanted George to know that
Thank
that
you.
his
I
voice
appreciate
isn't going nowhere.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, guys.
Is there any group on the line? Anybody on the line? Okay. All right. If no other liaison groups, I guess Monica. Turn it over to you, your director's report.
So today, oh, what happened? Okay, so today I want to get you guys thinking for the next meeting. So I'm going to try to encourage some thought. We don't necessarily have to have discussion on everything, but I'm just going to pose some questions to you as a board and hope that in the next meeting we can come up with some solutions. I'll be communicating with you throughout the month leading into the October meeting. Otherwise, I just think that would be best, where I'll be giving you some of the policies to review individually, independently. You can get your information back to me so I can consolidate your feedback ahead of time. even with some of these thoughts moving forward for some ideas, if you could start thinking about collecting your thoughts on some things, that would be helpful for next meeting too. So I just kind of want to blow through. I don't know if blow through is great terminology, but go through one thing at a time here. So camp. This summer camp, we had 207 campers. We had the second location. We added CITs. Everything was fantastic. With every year, we learn new things, and with growth, there were some growing pains. Some of the things that we recognized we had a problem with this year is we found late in the game that we weren't going to have Edgewood on Fridays. So we made Fridays a swim day. Well, that's great unless you have poor weather. So coming up with last minute plan to supplement became a little bit of an issue this year. So we're looking at creating a 3-layer approach where we have a first, second, and third plan in the event of poor weather, kind of like our last minute plan, we have enough warning plan and our normal day. So we're looking at a 3-pronged approach for Friday solution because the community center just does not have enough space to outfit 208 campers along with senior programming. We just don't. And that's why we have Edgewood in the first place, was to expand camp. So we're looking at some solutions. We do have some ideas. We're reaching out to busing companies to see if maybe we can have a bus on hold on a regular, or if we can have a site on hold, and maybe to create agreement with different spaces. So we're just looking at something like that for Fridays in particular.
What was the reason that Edgewood didn't have Fridays?
I think that's part of their contract is during the summer, they don't have the employees work. Yes, they don't have staff. That might be something else that we look into. Could we pay overtime to their staff to be there on Friday?
How many kids were at Edgewood again?
I believe it was 100 at Edgewood.
Half of the camp.
Half. Yeah. Anybody under age 9 was at Edgewood this year. And then the older kids and tweens were at the community center. So, and we had the older kids and tweens on alternative trip days a little bit too. So it kind of helped alleviate the numbers at the community center. So it was a tricky planning year. We've learned some lessons. I wouldn't say anything went poorly, but we learned some lessons. We want to try to create a more well-rounded training program for the staff ahead of time. For the pool, we have this now down for a large staff. I think we need to do something similar to what we do for the pool as far as training for the summer camp staff now that it's much larger. So that's another one that we want to look at. We want to adjust the pickup procedures at Edgewood School. A big piece of feedback from the parents was sunscreen, and just making sure that the kids were wearing sunscreen. So we're going to do certain scheduled times where we just stop everything, make everybody sunscreen, and call it a day. It was just a lot of feedback on that. They wanted more well-rounded programming this year. So we're just going to change the way we have our counselors set up. And we're going to reevaluate our trips to ensure that we have more full day trips, less part day trips. A lot of times we're going on a long journey only to be somewhere for an hour or 2 hours or something like that. So we want to try to make adjustments on that. And then this year we split sites based on age, but we realized that was a problem because we had people we're going to split by grade next year instead. That way people are with their friends and all the things. So those are kind of like our biggies. You can go through. I made the after action report. I'll make it available online on our camp page so people can kind of see what the feedback was and what we're looking at for next year and how we look on implementing change. A lot of really great feedback in here. So I just wanted to go through that a little bit with you. Feel free to peruse. There's feedback from both the counselors and both campsites. So it's quite significant. So I just wanted to give you that little feedback or roundup. Ultimately, we had a great year. We had a lot of success. We have a lot of campers and counselors saying they're going to return. Very excited about that. The CIT program was a great success and it's going to act as a great feeder for next year. So it was good, all in all. Does anybody have any questions about summer camp? No?
I heard really great things from people that I encountered about it. So it sounds like it was a huge success.
Thanks, Kim. I love that. Thank you.
Well done.
The next one I have is a community day recap and discussion. We had a really great community day this year. We changed our whole layout based on feedback from last year. We moved our vendors onto the grass so there was a better flow with the rides. We had a touch a truck event to kind of supplement, but we still have the problem where it seems like almost 2 separate days. The vendors leave at, 6, and then for a few hours we wait with just food trucks and music. And so it almost seems like there's no fluidity to the event, that people will show up at 6 o'clock expecting to be able to do things, but now they just have to wait for fireworks to happen. So I just think it's time for us to reevaluate and recap on Community Day and kind of rethink what is the mission of Community Day and how does it fit with our current mission and vision of the parks. We might want to take a look at different dates. And like I said, you can think about this for next meeting or talk to me along the way on it. You might want to consider other ways of donation and fundraising because we do ultimately use taxpayer dollars for this. There's no way we don't make up enough money to cover the cost of Community Day. And then how could we improve the flow of the day or try to make it a one complete package versus, 2 separate things? Like you either come for the fireworks or you come for the day, and it's 2 separate things. This is an event we generally plan an entire year for. So as soon as January hits, we're already ordering our marketing. We're starting to reach out for sponsors. So now is our time to kind of make these big decisions. We have a small window to work with. But over the next month, if you all can kind of think about these questions, what is the mission? What is our intent? Do we feel comfortable with the expenses of Community Day as part of our general line items, or how could we better fundraise for it? I'm posing these questions to you because I think this is a community decision. It's not an internal decision by any means. It's definitely something that has to be done with a lot of thought. So
When does it start again?
the event right now starts at 12. And because of the safety zone for the fireworks, now the way we changed our layout, we probably could have kept, like maybe started later and kept our vendor. It was a long day for a vendor. If they stay all the way till fireworks, that's a very long day, and that's taking down their tent in the dark. So we just have to take a whole big picture look at it.
In the start time of noon, has that just been what it's always been, or is there a reason for that?
Well, it has been what it's always been, but for food vendors, they generally like to come to an event that has a lunch and a dinner.
Okay.
So that's always been a perk to get food vendors. We did have some feedback about the expense of coming because food vendors are now becoming more expensive, and we did have some pay for type activities. So it could be a costly, it's like a regular carnival. It could be a costly day where there was a lot of free amenities where we paid for rides and we paid for the fireworks. There were some pay for things too. So that was the thing too. So take a look at the after action report. Get a true sense. Now, what's not included there or captured there is staff, how much staff we paid for that day. And then we had police, and we had all Park and Rec and all Public Works there that day. It's a big day for the staff. It's also a big setup for the staff. So they're there late the night before, all after hours. So,
I know it's hard to gauge because I know we changed the day because it used to be Labor Day weekend, right? Right before kids went to school.
Yep.
We changed
And
it
that-
back to the week before, but then obviously there's COVID years in there, so it's hard to
Well,
the comparison, like if we were to say does the wait, because it's the last weekend of the summer and more people are away versus Labor Day and everybody knows they're going to school like the next day, so more people are around, so.
the trick with Labor Day is then you have the staff working the entire 3-day weekend on a holiday. So you have that's also something to consider.
Mhm.
So having it a holiday weekend does change that element also.
Sure.
We also have our laborers working on Labor Day. Just throwing that out there.
Understood.
So I think about this. It's not something that we can decide. It's something that we have to discuss. I will have some discussions. We'll probably throw a survey out to kind of see what people get feelings of the community. But I do think that we should talk about its time of year proper. Does it fit with our mission? What do the people think they should get out of Community Day? And then we'll come back and we'll have a better kind of discussion about how we think we should move forward next year. Anybody have any questions before I move to the next slide? I told you I was going to get you thinking. Right, okay.
Or did you have a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Mhm.
Just real quick, Lori Gray. I am a Lower Makefield Township resident, 895 Slate Hill Road. So what is the expense, Monica, when you said it comes out of the taxpayer, did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, the total expense of the day was around, I want to say 60,000. We recouped about 30,000. It was, I'm saying approximate numbers because I don't have those numbers right in front of me. So these are approximate. It ended up costing about 24,000 without staff costs.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And the survey, are you thinking of like doing that through the website or how?
I'd probably push it out through social media.
Which I'll do. Okay, great.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any more questions? I'm going to move on to policy review. So the great thing about being an accredited agency is that we constantly have to review everything that we do, which is awesome because if we weren't accredited, we would have nobody holding us accountable to do that. So here we are. We're at the part of the year where we need to start doing policy review. I sent you all an email or a document also of all the things that we need to start thinking about reviewing. We have a couple biggies coming up next year, which is the recreation program plan, which is a huge, very well thought out document. We have to go over our program objectives, our community education for leisure process. It's how we educate the community about what we do at Parks and Recreation, our maintenance and operations standards. And so those are a couple biggies. We have a lot that all has to do with the recreation program plan. We also are reviewing our admin policies and procedures, our records. We do not have, we have a little bit of a records disaster mitigation, but they're looking for something more detailed than we have. One of the feedback items when we had our CAPRA review was that, okay, well, you have it now, but when you go through this the next time, this is what you have to have, so you have it, you pass, but you're not going to pass next time unless if I see progress here, 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 and here. So those are some items that we really need to start thinking about moving forward. So I'm putting these things right in front of you so you can see. I'm going to start coming to you with some things. The next meeting, you can expect the league policy, which I intend to have league meeting to kind of go through beforehand. The next meeting, I'd like to go over the code book. We've talked about that a number of times. I've made some edits. I'm going to do legal review them before the meeting. And maybe if you guys have any additional feedback, you've given me feedback over time. Another thing that I'd really like to focus on is the code of conduct and how we can incorporate some kind of code of conduct statement into our code book changes or the ordinance that changes our code book. I attached right now our current code of conduct in your packets. I think that we should require this for all volunteers to sign, for our staff to sign, to understand what is the expectation of staff volunteers and participants of Parks and Rec programming. So when people register, they're going to take a look at our code of conduct to kind of get a better idea. Now, we have had some instances where there was poor conduct, most recently in pickleball. It wasn't Bonnie. um, but I think it's very important for us to talk about the importance of how we act when we encounter each other and how we're representing ourselves as township volunteers and township staff. So taking a good dig into this, or taking a look at the code of conduct and providing feedback on that would be helpful to me over the next month. And I'll bring back a new draft based on your feedback. Maybe there's something in there that wasn't considered. Maybe there's something in there that shouldn't be in there. But I really think it's important that we stress the importance of how we interact with each other.
I know in the past, and George can probably comment, and I know as a head of PAA previously, that we've all had some sort of code of conduct as parents fill out the registration form. Usually at the end, you have to sign something prior to registration. So in terms of developing a code of conduct, would you have or think of a separate one for ones that, whether they sign up for classes through the system, whether they're through the pickleball or?
Well, I think what we can do is pickleball is a township program now.
Right, so I'm just saying anybody who signs up prior to them paying their fees to become a member or sign up for a class, they have to sign electronically their code.
Right. So if the leagues have it now, I think we should encourage the leagues to show us what their code of conduct is that participants provide to us, but our internal volunteers and our staff, and any participants in our classes. I mean, we offer a lot more than we ever have, even our summer camp, pickleball, pool. I really just think it's important that we stress how we treat each other is important here in Lower Makefield Township. And it's a good way for us to do so.
Just a quick logistics problem or question about that. Will the township collect and have those on file, or is it up to the individual leagues to have that? And if an issue comes up, then
well, if the leagues have it, they maintain their records, but they just have to provide me an example of what everybody has to sign. For us, it would just be all in our software. So that people, when they sign up for something, just like they sign a waiver, they'd also have to read and sign a code of conduct.
When I re-sign for the dog park, like before I pay my fee, it would say, here's Makefield Township's code of conduct for participants.
Right.
Pickleball, swim team, pool membership, classes, camp.
Right. Yes.
You have a question, George, or a comment?
Yeah, so obviously you have it, and the way we do it today is we have we use TeamSnap. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's just a platform where we can do all our scheduling and stuff. And at registration, you can add whatever policies you want that parents have to check off and say, as a parent, I'm going to adhere to this, and also my child will adhere to this if you're going to be a part of our program. So it gives you something to lean on when people are not following that to go back towards. If it's helpful, I'm not trying to put more work on you, but Eastern Pennsylvania Youth Soccer 2 years ago required us to come up with what they call as a risk management policy, which is a little more in detail than code of conduct, just a lot more stuff around child safety, safe sport, things like that we're required to do, which I can share with you as well. It's on our website, but I can show you what's hidden. But that was a pretty lengthy doc we had to put together as well, that it gives there's a lot of pathways if you have an issue to make sure you're covered.
Oh, so yeah, we have a risk management policy for the department.
But
this is
our league is required to.
Yeah.
We're
So
required,
maybe you showing us that can be helpful to us too. So you already have a code of conduct, is what
code of conduct, risk management, ton of other forms that on the site that I can email it to you where it's at.
Perfect.
I'll do that right now.
See,
But yeah, it should be
helpful already. See, YMS done.
Oh.
It's good. But we also need something for our internal stuff too.
Back to the other, on your piece of paper here, you have all these that in need of review. So can you send those to us electronically, the sections, like we had done in the past?
I will definitely be doing that over the next month. So the next month
Yeah.
you'll start receiving them, but I'm not going to inundate you. I'm going to give you a few.
I just didn't know, like, I know it says
Yeah.
in need of, so I don't know if there's
Yeah, yeah.
dates that need to be completed by, just so we know that as a group, we're getting you the information back
Yep.
in a timely manner, right? Because next meeting's 10/10, but if you need information, prior to publication, which is 10/6, then you would need us to give you the data like a week before.
Yeah. So in the next couple days, even I just don't want to send you this stuff without any, and you won't be getting it all at once. It'll be in phases like you're seeing right now, what's due in 2024, what's due in 2023. If we're a little behind on one, that's fine. We should be reviewing our code annually. So I'd like to get us to get it to a good place. And then every year we check up on that. We do a code checkup. If there's anything to change, great. If not, we've done our review. That's good. So I just like to get us to that place where think about the code hasn't been changed, and we've now added the dog park and the community center online and the new pickleball courts. So, we haven't changed code along that time. So I think that we need to take a strong look at it. I've been using municipality code from all over the local area, but across the country even, to see if there's examples of things that we might need. We had considered drone usage, photographers in the park, what kind of, all these things that come up that we really have no reference of how to work with them. So e-bikes is a big thing, e-bikes and electronic everything, and vape pens and all those type of things need to be considered for language. So these are all things that I've been reviewing. I plan to give to you a draft once I've had a legal review done. And then you can kind of take a look and see if there's anything you want to add. Any more questions on code? All right. Pool. We haven't finished our full recap for pool, but I can tell you some feedback that we've heard throughout the season that I'd like to address for next year. This is a think on it for next time, because you'll have the full pool recap before then. We had a number of military folks come to the window and ask for a military discount. I think that that's something that we can consider. I mean, it wasn't a ton, maybe like 10. But I do think that we should respect and honor a military discount. So that's something we should think about. We also talked about maybe some kind of high level membership, so that, maybe a grandparent can have guests or whatever. So we need to kind of sort that out over the next month. Another one was rain checks. So if it rains, if someone gets a pass for the day, if it rains right now, we don't refund. I don't think it'd be too hard to offer a rain check, but there are some logistics that go with it because we require members to bring guests. So if we provide a rain check, are we going to provide that back to the member, or do we provide that? Just some logistics to work through. The next one I think our lap swimmers will enjoy is a lap pass during the shorter days in the early season and late season. We have a lot of conflict with the lap lanes because we're limited in space and how they can be used. We do think we could extend, particularly in August, hours of the lap lane. We're trying to figure out how we might be able to do it in the fall or early season, spring. Also, so we're trying to develop a lap pass, which is something extra you can purchase to be able to come in. We'll only sell a limited amount of lap passes, but you can come in extra during lap pass time and just use a lap pool. And it would just be like 16 passes that we're going to sell. But I think that would reduce a lot of conflict that we have right now currently. And the next one is capital improvement fees. We have a lot of capital improvement that we have coming up soon. We need to talk about how we're going to develop a way to pay for those improvements. One, we need we need 2 new filters in the very near future. So I think we really need to discuss how we're going to come about that money. I don't anticipate that you want to use tax dollars for these type of things. You want to use pool funds, brainstorm, and we'll come to something. I'll talk with you guys throughout the month. Yeah, well, Doug's gonna write a check. I foresee some sponsorship. We can call filter by whoever. Malinowski filter, however you want to do it. I mean, some of these repairs are not glamorous repairs, but they're things that we're going to need to live into the future as a pool. So just something to consider. Macclesfield Park project. We are moving along. We are inching along as we are inching along. We'll be setting some dates for public presentation and participation in the real near future. We have been collaborating very closely with the school district, talking about how we might be able to jointly work together for space usage. So that has been happening over the last month or so, back and forth on that conversation. We collected a lot of data. We just had a meeting. When was it, George and Lori? When was the last meeting? So yeah, it could be. It could be. It very could be. So it's been some time. Summer kind of just went by with a blink. So here we go. And we're looking at some public meetings.
Formal timeline then for the remainder of the year or through.
For a public presentation.
For the next part of the project, do we have certain milestones or time?
We'll have to meet again as a group, because the last meeting that we had as a group, there was a lot of answered questions that need to be answered. So we'll meet again as a group, the steering committee. We'll come to conclusions on some of the answers, hopefully, and then we'll present publicly at the whenever we come up, hopefully next month or so, we'll have a public meeting where everybody can provide feedback on a plan, a proposed idea, concept plan. Well, you know what? We did have another meeting, but I don't think I got the meeting minutes back. Yeah, there was one more meeting.
At the end of June.
Yeah, yes. Yep. So that gives me 2 months. Yeah, so I haven't put those meeting minutes up. I have not received them. So once I get those meeting minutes, I'll put those up. I did want to tell you that Natural Lands is coming to the next Board of Supervisors meeting to discuss their findings on snipes. So that will be on the 20th. The meeting, I believe, starts at 7:30. So if you want to be in attendance, anybody, park board, anybody else wants to see what Natural Lands findings were, it's good. She's the professional. She's coming to present. So probably best hear the information from her. So she'll be there. Park board wants to attend, please feel free to attend. That's all I have on that. So does anybody have any questions on that?
He hasn't shared the results or anything.
We met last week and she was still pulling together all her final thoughts. If there was a question, I think she was answering questions that, we had that we felt that needed to be addressed. So once she pulls together that report, I'll share that report with you, when we're ready. We're almost there. So big capital improvements that we really need to focus on in the next year, and some projects, I would say. The pool complex master plan we started before COVID. We now have had a few years since COVID. I think we need to complete that master plan to move into the future to talk about all of our capital improvements, our needs with a snack bar, the bathrooms we determined were going to need a complete rehaul. We can't just patch that. So we're looking at a complete master plan in the near future. The lap pool next year is getting the royal treatment, which was part of the plan, sandblast and paint. We determined with the leak detection that we're going to need a new filter for next year. So especially if we're going to sandblast and paint next year, you don't want, it just isn't filtering properly. It was clean, but it wasn't pulling all the sediment off the bottom. We're going to also be recaulking because we're seeing that we're losing some water in the caulk line. So we're going to have to pull out all the caulk, recaulk the pool. In a Memorial Park, one of our primary focuses has to be repair the basketball surface. Right now is out of order. We shut it down because the cracks are too big at Memorial Park. We're looking at that. Talking about crack remediation, because the basketball court, we've been waiting until things get too bad. There are a couple of the pickleball courts that we're looking to patch over the next year too. But that's not as big of a project. It is much smaller. So
You actually, we walked those courts, and can you actually repair those cracks, or is it more?
it's going to be a tear. We're at a point of tear up, and we're
Yeah, tear
trying
it up, right?
to get in a better maintenance plan that we don't have to wait for tear up, that we can make them last a little longer. So we're working on that right now. So Art in the Park just finished. The last sculptures were picked up today. It was a huge success, all positive feedback, constructive criticism too for future projects. For next year, I think we should focus on how we can better partner with outside agencies to develop a full, all-encompassing culture and arts plan. So that's what I'd like to spend 2024 doing. We're looking at some other grants to see if we can implement again next year. But funding wise, I feel like we're in a position that we really need to have a good plan in place to decide how we're going to continue to move forward having arts and culture in the township. So I just wanted to share this little TikTok that one of the staff made up, Elizabeth, if I can. Showing it on my screen, but not on that.
That's so cute.
I just want to share that with you to show you the many, many things. It wasn't just art in our parks. It was reaching a different element of the community. We were going out to the parks and doing pop-up readings. Well, they weren't really pop-up, but we did make everybody at the playground come over and read with us. So we're reaching out to people who we didn't maybe reach through our social media to know that there are the readings in the parks. We had the movie in the park that Kim helped with, and we did the ultimate frisbee that Doug helped with. We did tours with artists of Yardley. We did a hula hoop social media kind of experiment where we had a video camera watching people, and we put hula hoops out by the hula hooper at Kids Kingdom, which produced quite a few fun videos that we'll add. You saw them, a couple of them in this video. It was really just such a great project, and to see so many people come together. We had the art show in the park, which was a great success. So many things that we did brought different parts of the community together, which was really, really neat to see. So very excited about how things went. It is something that the community needed, and it's clear. And I think it's something that we can expand on in the future with maybe some extra partners along the way. What we did learn is that really did put a demand on the staff. You know, we were tied up, we doubled the size of summer camp, and we did art in the park in the same year. And there wasn't enough time in the day to get some of these things done this year, but it really was such a great, great thing that we did. So having outside partners to help would really help take this to the next level. So that was, I think, my last thing. Did I touch everything on the agenda? Okay, great. That's it for me.
Thank you, Monica, and great success on summer camp, Arts in the Park, Community Day. Just again, tremendous amount of activity for our constituents and our residents, and look forward to what's in store for 2024. So we're excited about that. Is there anybody else here that has any comments, public comment? Come on up.
Lori Gray again. So I've been coming to a few of the meetings, and under the liaison report, it's typically YMS is the only organization here that reports. Are they required to report, or it's just if you want to, you come and report? Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
They're all invited.
Do we have any public comment on the line? If none, do we have any?
There's no public comment online at this time.
All right. Kim, David, anybody else comments? We have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to
All right.
adjourn.
Second? All right. Meeting adjourned.